The Cursed Relic. They say curiosity killed the cat, but in my case, it almost consumed me. My name is Dr. Alina Ramirez, and I've spent my life digging into the past, unraveling the mysteries of ancient civilizations. But nothing could prepare me for what I found buried beneath the ruins of an old temple in the heart of the Amazon rainforest. As I brushed away the dirt, the relic glimmered under the sunlight. An intricately carved amulet, its surface adorned with symbols I'd never seen before. My excitement quickly turned to unease when I noticed the inscription warning of a curse. "He who awakens me shall know despair." I dismissed it as a local myth, but deep down, I felt an ominous weight settle in my chest. Strange occurrences began the moment I returned to camp. Shadows flitted at the edges of my vision, and whispers echoed through the trees at night. I brushed it off as fatigue from the expedition, but then came the nightmares. Dark figures looming over me, their eyes filled with malice. Desperate for answers, I delved into ancient texts, piecing together fragments of the curse. My heart raced as I realized time was running out. The amulet had a grip on me, sapping my strength and will. I had to perform the ritual to lift the curse before it consumed me entirely. With the clock ticking, I gathered the required items: a rare flower, a sacred chant, and a drop of my own blood. As I began the ritual, I felt the air grow heavy, thick with an ancient energy. Just as I uttered the final words, a piercing scream filled the air, and I felt a dark presence surge through me. The ground trembled and I was thrown backward. I gasped, struggling to breathe. Had I lifted the curse, or had it claimed me? The forest grew silent, but in that stillness, I sensed something watching, waiting. I realized the truth. Some relics are meant to remain buried. But would I ever be free?
The rain was already falling by the time I woke up, droplets tapping against the old windows like unwelcome visitors. Thunder rolled deep and distant, making my skin prickle. I shook Grandpa's shoulder gently. "Grandpa," I whispered. "It's raining." His eyes snapped open, and in an instant I saw that familiar panic grip him. No groggy wake up, no slow recognition, just immediate fear. He grabbed my wrist tighter than usual, and hauled himself up off the couch. His grip hurt, but I didn't say anything. Upstairs, now, his voice was strained, almost a growl. We stumbled toward the stairs. The house felt heavy with silence, except for the rain hammering against the roof. The storm was picking up fast, just like every other time. We didn't question it anymore. When it rained, we hid. We made it halfway up the stairs when Grandpa froze. "Grandpa!" I whispered, breath hitching. He stared down into the shadowy living room, every muscle in his body tense. I followed his gaze, but all I saw was darkness until a flash of lightning revealed it. Something stood at the bottom of the stairs. It was a figure now, not quite human, thin and twisted, its limbs bent unnaturally. Its skin looked charred and cracked, dark as burnt wood. Wet hair clung in tangled clumps to its face, hanging down past its shoulders. One of its arms dangled limply by its side, while the other cradled something close to its chest. I grabbed Grandpa's arm, heart thudding. "Grandpa, we need to go." But he didn't move. His breath was ragged, his eyes fixed on the thing below. Then the noise began, a low, broken chirp, like a cicada trying to buzz through a shattered throat. The sound made my insides twist with dread. Another flash of lightning, and the figure was closer. It was halfway up the stairs now, staring at us with eyes that weren't really eyes, just hollow black pits where they should have been. I could finally make out what it was holding, a small, blackened mass. A baby, or what was left of one. Its mouth hung open in a silent, toothless wail, and the awful chirping came from deep inside its throat. Grandpa's hand trembled in mine. He was sweating, the man who had fought in wars, brought to his knees by this thing. Lightning cracked again, illuminating the stairwell in a harsh white flash. The figure was just a few steps away now. I tugged on Grandpa's arm with all my strength, but he was rooted in place, staring at the burnt woman and the creature in her arms. "Grandpa, please," I cried. The rain pounded harder, and the sound of the chirping mixed with distant screams, voices of the dead, carried by the storm. The lights in the house flickered, buzzing like they were on the verge of going out completely. In the strobing light, the woman's scorched face twisted into something between a grin and a grimace, as if mocking us. Then I saw it, those charred lips moved ever so slightly. She whispered something I couldn't hear, but Grandpa must have understood because his legs gave out beneath him. He collapsed onto the steps, defeated. "No," he muttered. "No, not yet." I tried to pull him up, tears streaming down my face, but he let go of my hand. I screamed at him, begged him to come with me, but he just stared at the figure, as if accepting his fate. The woman took another step closer. The baby, or whatever it was, let out one last broken chirp. And then the lights went out completely. The darkness swallowed us whole, and all I could hear was the relentless downpour, Grandpa's ragged breathing, and the sound of something wet dragging up the stairs toward us. This wasn't the end of the story. It was the beginning.
My 3-year-old niece has been talking to the devil. For context, my cousin just bought an old house with her husband and their baby girl. It's really old, like it has a tiny door on the outside where the milkman used to deliver milk, and a cellar in the basement. Anyway, I babysat their daughter Ella in the new house for the first time 2 nights ago, and I got really freaked out. The basement has low ceilings and 2 main rooms, a little kitchen and the playroom where Ella spends most of her time. There's no door between the rooms, just an opening, and there's a bathroom and the cellar off the playroom. So I watched Ella for a little over 4 hours, and we spent most of it in the playroom. There's a TV, her playpen, and a bunch of toys. At one point, I left her in her playpen to make a snack in the kitchen, and I heard faint voices from the playroom over the sound of the sink. I wondered if Ella managed to turn on the TV somehow. When I turned off the sink, the only voice I heard was hers. She was talking normally, not like she was trying to get my attention, but I said, "Be right there, sweetheart," anyway. I thought I heard her shushing someone, and as I came back from the kitchen, I heard her say something like, "Be quiet." The TV was off and she was playing with her toys. I asked her who she was talking to, and she looked down and said, "No one." I sat down next to her and said, "Come on, Ella. Who were you telling to be quiet?" Then she giggled, looked up at me and said what sounded like, "Thaytin." I laughed at first, because it sounded like she said Satan with her little lisp. I asked her to repeat herself, and she said it again, "Thaytin." I asked her, "What are you saying? Who's Thaytin?" And she pointed behind me. I turned around to see she was pointing at the cellar door. I said, "The cellar? What's in there?" She repeated, "Thaytin." I got up to look in the cellar, but suddenly I was afraid to open it. I felt ridiculous, but I was so creeped out. I asked her if there was someone in the cellar, and she nodded. I asked if he talked to her, and she said yes. I asked what he said, and she shrugged. I asked her if he opened the door, or if she saw him while I was in the kitchen, and she said no. I asked if she has ever seen him before, and she said yes. I asked what he looked like, and she said dark. Then I asked if she could draw him for me, and I gave her a paper and some crayons. She started scribbling in black, then in red. What she drew scared the crap out of me. "Here it is." I said, "What is that?" And she just said, "It's Thaytin, go look." I did not go look. In fact, I changed the subject, put on a kid's show, and sat with my back against the wall opposite the cellar until her parents came home. I hid the drawing and waited until they put Ella to bed before talking to my cousin about it. First, I asked what was in the cellar. She said they use it as a junk room, but she doesn't go in there because it gives her bad vibes. The cellar door is positioned in a way that no light shines directly into it, and you have to walk about 10 feet in the dark before you find the pull string for the light, so she just stays out of there. Then I told her about what happened. She kind of laughed awkwardly at first, and seemed willing to chalk it up to a child's imagination. Then I showed her Ella's drawing, and she screamed. Her husband rushed over and held her as she cried, "It's the thing from my dream. It's the thing from my dream." Her husband explained that their first week in the house, my cousin fell asleep on the couch in the playroom and had a nightmare where she couldn't move from the couch. And Ella was in her playpen with that demon standing over her. When she woke up, she was alone, but the cellar door was open. She slammed it shut and ran upstairs. Apparently, it took her husband a long time to calm her down and convince her it was just a bad dream. But now that they know Ella has seen the same creature and is calling it Thetan, they're thinking of selling the house. Her husband is currently doing some research on the house's history, and I'm wondering if they're going to find out it was used for devil worship or something. Whatever it is, I think it's important to note that Ella is not afraid of Thetan. In fact, she talks about him like he's her friend.